Hello kind people. Today we are going to see a game played between Winter and Tartakower. This game dates back right away to 1927, a classical game of course, and this game has been played in London. As you guys know about Tartakower, he was a very famous personality in the world of chess. He had worked hard in various parts of chess, like the chess openings. He has given some great ideas in chess openings, and you guys must be aware about the Queen's Gambit decline Tartakower variation. Also, Tartakower was a famous chess composer, and yeah, he was a very famous personality, of course, and he was very strong during his time. So yeah, without any further ado, let's start the game. The game started with one pawn to d4, d5, knight f3, knight f6, c4, with the idea of undermining black's center, e6, keeping the center closed, bishop g5, bishop e7, knight c3, all very standard stuff, nb d7, e3, c6, taking a semi-Slav sort of structure, rook c1. Okay, we are just cruising through the opening because there's nothing much in this opening actually. Yeah, knight e4. Okay, there are some plans of dc4, which is found later, of course, after b5, bishop d3, a6. Black has, it is considered okay. Black is fine, completely fine. Black has got this nice queen side structure. Black can play c5 sometime, or break open white's opening, and black is just fine. And white also has ideas. Okay, not getting into those all those lines, just simply playing rook c1 and yeah, knight e4. Okay, knight e4 has a good idea behind it. We will talk about it. After knight e4, bishop e7, queen e7, queen c2, f5. Yeah, so I must mention this move f5. Why? Let me tell you. Because back then, this structure after f5, where this f pawn, e6 pawn, and d5 pawn, they give a lot of playing ideas for black. As you can see the arrows, black can simply castle, put his rook on f6 and h6, put his queen on h4, and then just attack the king side. Also, this f5 pawn gives space to black's black's king side, and he can always, sometimes, not always, I must say, play moves like f4, undermining this e3 square. Well, it's hardly played, but still it's an idea which can come to some games, I must say. Okay, let me mention one more thing about this structure. Okay, there is a word known as preoms, right? For those who don't know about preoms are something which can be simply mentioned as some sort of patterns, right? Preoms are those patterns which are used in a lot of games. There are some patterns which players use to get some play or sort of like that, and this is one of those preoms. Okay, I will definitely make a video on preoms, discussing about preoms, and this is a preom, and the name of the preom is the Philidor ring. You guys must be aware of the Philidor. Philidor was a very famous personality in chess, and he has an opening named after him, the Philidor opening. And yeah, he was a very famous personality as well. So as I mentioned, the idea of f5 is simple. Just black wants to castle, put his rook on f6 for h6, a beautiful rook left, and bringing the queen into the plan. Yeah, that's the plan. White just went with bishop to d3. Okay, there's one more point of f5, that if white ever takes on e4, then this f takes on e4 opens up this semi-open f file, and black would get just a lot of play, right? And due to this pawn on e4, this square on f3 would also be checked, so no knights can jump there to protect the king side. Castles anyway, castles. Rook f6. Now I must say this position is already not so easy for white. Well, there has been some inaccuracies in the opening, and yeah, that's so interesting about these classical games, that the opening is not the most accurate engine lines, but all these moves look so natural, right? These moves like knight f3, bishop d3, knight c3, you cannot complain about any move. They are so natural. But these are the reasons why chess cannot be explained so easily. There are sometimes some small inaccuracies which happen actually, and that's very interesting to see how these grandmasters, who were way ahead of their time, could actually understand this even then without any engines, and they come up with this brilliant ideas of defeating. Yeah, let's just see how it went. Knight e5. Okay, the idea is to play f3 and just kick away this knight on e4. Okay, I must mention there's this idea of playing bishop takes on. Sorry about that. After rook h6 and now bishop e4. The idea is just you just want to remove this knight, which was a very strong piece in the center. But yeah, that is actually made by a very good move. So I must ask you to please pause the video if you want and try to find the move that just makes black better right away. Please pause the video. So yeah, I guess you tried it, and well, if you came up with this move knight to e5, then bravo, you are absolutely correct. The idea of knight takes on e5 is that if you take on e5 with the d pawn, then after f to e5, then all these arrows, as you can see, this queen on e7, h6 are just putting so much pressure on h2. This bishop would just come to d7, e8, and g6, and this rook on e8 would just come to f8, and black would have a brilliant play, I must say. Right, so white decided to play f3 here. Knight takes on e5. Removing this strong knight from e5. D takes on e5, and yeah, it's black to play again. All the pieces are already into the game. It's very clear that black's sole idea, is to just mate this king here. So give it a try. Pause the video and let's see if you can come with a move what Tartakower played in the game. I hope you tried, and the move here actually is queen to h4, a brilliant move. Just sacking this knight on e4 with the idea of playing queen h2 and just mating the king right away. Yeah, white took on e4 actually. Back then, as I've mentioned once, that if you didn't accept a sacrifice, if your opponent didn't accept the sacrifice what you made, then that's actually against the spirit of the game. So yeah, that's funny, but still it's true. Right, so I must show you that if white plays h3, then black comes in with g5, knight g5, and then with idea of knight h6, g6, queen h6, and these batteries really very strong. And if white plays g3, then black simply has knight g3, h3, and yeah, white has queen h1. Yeah, and black is actually winning here. So white actually accepted the sacrifice. I don't think so. Even in this position, that there's something better than just not to accept it, but still. White is already worse, I must say, but yeah, let's see how actually um, black manages to win here. Queen takes on h2 check, king f2, f takes on e5, bishop takes on e5, d takes on e5, queen takes on e4. All right, so we already have the arrows here, but here I was going to ask you that what should be the plan for black, to play in this game, because black already has all his pieces into the play, and it's time for black to come up with a concrete plan. And yeah, as you can see the arrows, that the idea here is to bring this bishop in the game. This bishop is actually the last two pieces left, one of the last two pieces left, and as there are all these red squares, as you can see, they are also weak, because white doesn't have any light square bishop actually. So if black manages to get his light square bishop into the plane, then black is just far better. So yeah, bishop d7 with the idea of putting his bishop on e8 and bringing here. King e2, just running away with the king. Bishop e8, bringing it to g6 or h5. Rook f2. Okay, here rook f2 is a sort of sneaky move. The idea here is if black plays bishop h4, which looks so normal. Like white just replies with g4. When you attack this bishop and this queen, so you lose either of them. So black here played rook h4, attacking white's queen, g4 anyway, queen g3. Yeah. Now after queen g3, black as white stops this h4 square, h5 square for the bishop. So white black now intends to bring his bishop on g6 and play from that square. White plays rook g2, rook h2, just pinning the rook on g2, rook g1, protecting the rook on g2, and bishop g6, bringing the second last piece into the game. Rook h2, queen g2, and queen takes on e5. Just picking up pawns, and now you can see black is simply better because black is up a pawn, and yeah, with this white king so naked, black is just going to have a easy game to win. But yeah, there are still some techniques left. Let's see how black actually manages to win. Rook d1, queen c5 with the simple idea of taking on c4 with a check on e2, b3, and now queen a5, double attack on c3 and a2 pawn. Knight to a4. That's a very bad knight actually on this square, because this knight on rim is always a game actually. Rook f8, bringing the last piece into the play, and now it's just completely winning for black. Queen g3, in some way trying to gain some counterplay. Queen g5, eyeing on all these weaknesses what white has in his camp, and with this knight so far away from the game, it's very easy for black to target them and pick them up. Rook d4, protecting the g4, e5, deflecting the rook, and now black tries some radical measures and gets in with rook d7. The idea is just to pick up some pawn, and maybe on a good day bring his queen to the game, and may just hold the game. I mean, may, a very big may, I must say. Bishop f5, a very good move. The idea is to utilize this pin over here to attack this rook and this this pawn, sorry. Yeah, rook takes on b7, just taking few pawns. Bishop g4, king d2, and yeah, here it's time for black to once again to think for a concrete plan here. And black comes up with the plan that, okay, all my pieces are just completely safe. My king is nicely protected by all those pieces right here and these pawns. But yeah, these pawns have no such rivals, right? They are just so unchallenged. So let's just start pushing the pawns. And as you can see the arrows, black can just so easily get his passed pawns rolling. Knight c5, bringing the knight into the game, but yeah, it's already too late. h4. Okay, h4 is a very good move actually. White actually black actually ignores this idea of knight e6 on some day, like after queen g1. Black actually goes on playing h3, and it hardly matters to him to put his knight on e6 and forking these pieces. He's simply focusing on playing h2 and taking on the queen on g1 and just queening, right? Knight e6 anyway, h2, good move. The point being that you cannot take on h2 because then this knight hangs on e6. Queen g6, still stopping this knight from being taken. Rook d8 check, king c3, h1 queen. Knight g5, queen c1. Now, as you can see that black actually has same number of pawns as white has, but by bringing this queen so nicely into this game, not like this actually, but still by bringing it from here to here, black actually manages to utilize this bad king, badly placed king, and he just gets in from g5 to c1 in that brilliant way by giving up a queen in some way but promoting his pawn. And yeah, now it's just simply over. King b4, queen d2 check, king a4, queen takes on e2, rook b4, queen d2, king a4, a5, just promoting everything. Yeah, black has this idea of giving this mate, and it's now just it is just getting uh, it's just over actually. It's just out of desperation. King g7, knight e6, king f6, queen h4 check, king e6, queen g4, black just a complete rook up, king d6, king c7, and yeah, it was in this position that white actually resigned the game, and Tartakower claimed a very nice victory over his opponent Winter. So yeah, that was the game. I hope you liked the video. As you guys can see that, let me just go through the game once again, just a small tour. Yeah, so the game actually started with normal, pretty normal opening. Here white went with knight e4, which is a nice idea of creating this priom, this filtering priom, and bishop d3, short castles, and bringing the rook into the play, knight e5, and just slowly and steadily getting into. And here queen h4, sacrificing the knight on e4 for play. F e4, queen h2, queen h2, bishop d4. And after queen e4, this beautiful idea of bishop d7, and bringing this bishop into the play, bishop d7 into 2. And here not just hurrying and just blundering by playing bishop h4, rather keeping cool and just playing rook h4, g4, queen g3, trying to utilize the spin, bring the last piece, all these pieces left, and now just it's just easy, but still black plays nicely to h5, queening this pawn, and black just gets in, and just all these mates and checks, black just is a complete rook up, and yeah, that's it. That was the game. I hope you liked the video. During these days in chess world, there are some great games going on. Actually, the Magnus Carlsen Invitational Tour is, experiencing some great hiccups always around, because Hikaru is making some great results against Magnus, and Olympiad, the top division of the Olympiad was also started. Let's see. We will try to cover some games of the Olympiad as well. So if you like the video, please like, share and subscribe, and please support the channel. We will bring up with more new contents. Thank you for watching.